In recent weeks, the nation has turned its attention to racial injustice. And for some, there's a question about how do you turn this topic into something that you can effectively talk with your family and friends about. Joining us now to give her thoughts on the subject is local community organizer, educator, and creator of the organization Foundations. We've got Raven Cook. Hey, Raven.
Hey, Raven.
Hey, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. So Raven, tell us a little bit about Foundations and what your organization is all about.
Yes, of course. So Foundations, Black History Educational Programming was created to really ensure that every person could learn about the life and legacy of African American leaders in the United States and around the globe. It is an umbrella organization for several different programs that I put on in the local community. I've worked with groups like the League of Women Voters, the Arkansas Democratic Party, but also I've done work with the Fayetteville Public Library just to help educate individuals on some really incredible people in American history. So it really is a tool to be able to help people learn and grow.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we just saw some photos for our viewers at home of you kind of in different settings talking about this subject in schools and at the library. So it was great to see you know, what you're doing in our community. So I'm curious about this topic. In your experience, Raven, what are some good tips for broaching the subject of race with friends and colleagues?
Yeah, I think the first thing that's really important when discussing identity, particularly as it regards to race and ethnicity, is really to be understanding that we all have been taught some really bad things, right? We've all been taught and educated to kind of have this perception of white supremacy and just kind of take it in. But I think it's really important to understand that just as we've been taught one thing, we can be taught something else and learn a different way and grow. I really believe that genuinely. I think once we think about the people that have made opportunities and created opportunities for us to be able to have that dialogue. That's really important. So really just making sure that we as a community understand and have patience with one another, come from a place of love, and also just really educate ourselves on the history of America and really re-educate ourselves, relearn some things.
Relearn some things.
Yep.
I totally agree.
Relearn some things.
So we've got families, we've got kids at home.
Right.
I know that you work with young people and students a lot. So in your experience as an educator, what are some good tips about talking about race with kids?
My best tip for working with young people is to have this real honest dialogue with them. Young people are in a technological age. They can Google a lot of this information. They're seeing what's going on around them. And I think it's really important that parents have that courageous conversation with their young people. I saw a great show with Sesame Street that did this work recently of having this really direct conversation. And I was really appreciative of that because directness for young people, of course, speaking to them in ways they understand, but also talking about how people are seen and how that feels and giving them the sense of empathy, I think is really important.
Yeah, and you mentioned some words there. I heard courage. I do think it takes a lot of courage to have a conversation that might be difficult for some people, and to be direct is something that I'm taking as well. I think kids are a lot more apt to being direct than even adults are. I think we kind of, at least I know in my life, I fluff up things a lot, you know, and I use language that maybe isn't so right to the heart of it. And so kids need that.
Kids are very resilient, and I feel as parents, you know, I think a lot of times we try to protect them and shield them from what's out there. But what we learn in our conversations from them is that they're a lot more resilient and they know a lot more than what we give them credit for.
Absolutely, they do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Young people are really incredible. Working with the young people around the Northwest Arkansas area has really been a privilege and a joy to watch them be able to learn and take in these really difficult topics, but also recognizing that they're the future leaders, the future Congress people, the future doctors and lawyers that will impact policy, I think is really important, and just having those honest conversations can bring a new day.
Yep.
Yeah,
Agreed. I
Raven,
love
thanks for joining us and shedding light and giving us some tips and some understanding of how to broach this subject. We really appreciate
Thank you so
taking
much,
the time
Raven.
today. Yeah,
Thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
absolutely. Yeah, great stuff. Great
Absolutely, I
stuff.
agree.
Yeah.